Dementia is a terrible disease. The mental decline of our loved ones is heartbreaking, and the effects are profound. This condition cannot be cured, but medication and therapy can help. And what better therapy is there than the unconditional love of a dog? On today's episode, we join Layla, a Jack Russel Terrier who visits dementia patients in a Canadian senior center and is, of course, spreading love and joy in a way that only dogs can do. Hello, I'm James Jacobson in Maui, Hawaii.
And I'm Claire Mansell in Ottawa, Canada.
Welcome to Dog Edition,
where voices from around the world consider all things dog.
Dog Edition is the first show designed for you to listen to while you walk your dogs.
On today's edition, we're going to meet one very special pooch. You might call her a dementia dog.
We know that dogs are calming to spend time with, but did you know that research has shown that dogs can help ease the symptoms of dementia, making patients less agitated and less aggressive?
That's what our correspondent Bob Keating discovered when he first took his Jack Russel, Layla, to a seniors centre in British Columbia here in Canada 6 years ago. We'll meet Bob and Layla.
And we'll get into some of the reasons why and how much dogs can reduce anxiety, depression, and loneliness in people with dementia. It's an important and fascinating subject, so if you love dogs as much as we do, pause what you're doing, leash up your pup, and let's go for a walk. We've got a lot to talk about on today's episode of Dog Edition.
Hey Pepper, want to go for a walk?
The number of people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia is increasing in frightening numbers. Researchers aren't sure why, but we're getting dementia more often and earlier on in life.
And research is beginning to show just how valuable dogs can be in helping to slow the effects of dementia, as well as being a source of relief for dementia patients. Bob Keating, who is from Nelson, British Columbia, learned this firsthand when he took his Jack Russell Terrier to a local senior center for a visit. And today, Bob joins us.
Well, hello, Bob. First of all, always nice to have a Canadian on the show. Can we find out what took you to the senior home to begin with? Where did that idea come from?
Well, I wanted to do some volunteer work, and the plan was to go to Mountain Lake Senior Center to read novels and magazines to residents who lived there, because that's what I do for a living. I was a journalist back then. Mountain Lake is this beautiful seniors village on the edge of my city overlooking a lake, and so I thought I should go and read to people with dementia. And I did, and those readings went, I'm going to say, okay.
So why only okay?
Well, I think they appreciated my visits because many of the seniors there have advanced dementia and rarely get out of their communal living spaces, which they call cottages. But I really didn't feel like I was making a connection until one day I brought Layla, who's a lap dog and fits in the cradle of my arm, and I can carry her around like a football, and I did, and that changed things dramatically, as you'll hear when we go into one of the cottages. Hello, Layla's here to visit.
Oh, lovely. Layla, how nice. Oh, you're so lovely. Yes, you are. It's a girl. Yeah, how old is she?
17.
17? Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's marvelous.
I want you to meet Shirley, who absolutely adores Layla. Shirley tells me she's 102 years old, which she isn't. She's 94 and originally from Montreal. But she struggles with memories, even things as simple as how old she is or where she lives.
That's typical, right, Bob?
Yeah, it is. People with dementia do struggle with the day-to-day details of their life. People with advanced dementia, I've found, are the ultimate Buddhists because they live in the present moment. Past and future are often foggy to them. So Shirley asks me the same questions every time I visit. What's your dog's name? How old is she? Then she smothers Layla with affection.
When you say that Alzheimer's patients are the ultimate Buddhists, I kind of think of dogs that way.
Yes, they are too. They also live in the moment, especially around mealtime.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you absolutely made Shirley's day there. You can hear her glowing in the audio.
Yes, Shirley may be confused about the past, but in this moment, with Layla, she's absolutely radiant. There are times when I've left Layla with her, and she curls up on Shirley's lap for a half hour and falls asleep, both as content as can be.
I just love her. I really do.
Did you have dogs growing up, Shirley?
Yes, always. My mother was crazy for anything like that.
And you? Do you remember?
Me, yeah, I'm like that too. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just love animals. And she seems to know it too, very much, because she's always up at, and then she's looking at me all the time, and which is lovely.
She seems to like you quite a bit.
Well, I just love her. You're lovely, yes.
So you have these people who've grown up and spent their entire lives with dogs and are clearly passionate about them. I'm guessing that these visits really fulfilling a need because that's bringing them into contact with something that they're very passionate about.
Yeah, I think there's a need filled here. I'll take you into another cottage and we'll hear more. This is Elsie's room. Elsie's 84 and her mind is still quite sharp, but her body is worn. She's in a wheelchair and on oxygen, so a care aide helps with her oxygen tank as I arrive in the door. Hello, Elsie.
Hello, sweetheart.
Isn't she adorable?
Yes, I like her. I love her. Yes. Oh, my God. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Do you want to take her, Elsie?
Yeah, sure. Come here, babe. Oh, that's my darling. Yes. You're going to be okay. Oh, that's okay.
Elsie loves Layla so much, she keeps a bag of doggy treats in her room just for these visits.
How perfect.
Yeah, I know. Elsie was raised in Belgium and, like Shirley, always had dogs right from the time she was born.
Born in Germany and was there till I was 6 years old. And then we moved to Belgium at the end of the war, you know. Well, the funny part is, when I was a baby, she would put me in the pram, what we call, and put me outside. And then she had the German shepherds babysit me. Sorry. He babysat me. Was my first love, the dog.
Your first love was a dog because a dog babysat you.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was funny, but it's true.
Do you think Layla's visits brighten people's lives?
Yeah, definitely. She's very important to us. We're looking forward to having her. And I see the way she likes to tweet. How old is she?
17.
17? Oh, Layla, you're almost going to doggy heaven, huh?
We hope not anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, huh? Oh, yes, sweetheart. Oh, she's so nice.
So it's really interesting that, she's basically talking about heaven, doggy heaven, when she's up there in age. So it's a point for them to connect and relate.
Yes, I think so. They're about the same age. Actually, Layla in dog years is a little older, and they both are headed toward their version of heaven to meet their gods.
But it's like a relatable object that these patients can connect with that is outside of their own body, but they can share a similar journey.
Exactly.
I love the image as well of the German shepherd protecting the pram outside and how vivid that image was still in her mind, which of course is typical of dementia patients, that she remembers that so well, but yet not the details of perhaps what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I think that is pretty typical. And as I move from cottage to cottage, and Layla gets showered with attention and love, one thing I've noted in the 6 years since I've been going there is regardless of how debilitating the dementia, residents do, like you said, always remember a dog. They may not, as you said, remember the name of their own children, but the sight of a dog triggers memory and brightens their day, too.
It sounds like Layla is just absolutely marvelous with dementia patients. Has she gotten any special training to do that?
No, she's not a specially trained therapy dog, but before I did go to the seniors village, they asked that I take her for a temperament test to ensure she would be a fit, and she passed easily. I'm going to be upfront here. She is full Jack Russell with me, meaning very strong-willed and almost cat-like in her behavior, but she is.
Yeah.
She's wonderful with dementia patients.
So she really changes her personality to be with the audience.
Does she ever?
She's able to adapt. Yeah. Wow.
And I often find, too, that she knows the people that need her most, and she curls up and she is so good with them.
Yeah, we've talked about that on this show before, about children who have learning disabilities and how dogs are used in classrooms because they are able to identify the individuals who really would benefit from the companionship. So, Bob, how did this all start? Take us to the beginning.
Okay, but for that, I want you to meet Sandra Growich, who's Mountain Lake's Life Enrichment Coordinator. She was the one who first brought me in as a volunteer.
We're always looking for volunteers, yeah. If they've got a dog, that's even better.
Why if they've got a dog?
You know, a lot of the people living at Mountain Lake have had animals and pets in their lives throughout their life. And often once they move into long-term care or assisted living, they're often not able to care for pets anymore, so they can't bring their pets with them. Whenever we're able to have volunteers or staff members, family and friends come and visit with their pets, it really brightens the day of the residents who live here. Layla in particular, she's a very calm, very relaxed, pretty chill dog. And so our residents being able to hold her, to pet her without, a big reaction is really comforting for them. Yeah, so something to talk about, something that initiates conversation, something that's known to them and stuck in their long-term memory, so they're able to communicate and to express that.
Do you think it helps? More than enrich their life, actually might help them cognitively?
I think so. Again, I think it's those memories and that knowledge that's stuck back in the mind that we don't lose with dementia. That's still there. It can help to bring that out.
We're going to take a break right here, but when we come back, let's get into the science and research behind why dogs are beneficial for working with dementia patients. We'll be right back.
And now, a message from your dog.
Every day with you is like a day at the beach, and I want as many beach days as possible. I want to run and sniff and find a good stick to carry. I want to walk with you, run with you, sleep with you, eat with you. And when I eat with you, I want Everpup. It infuses any food you give me with health and life and vibrancy. I can feel it. It's a strange thing to do, sprinkle this powder on my food, but I wouldn't have it any other way. My time with you is precious and irreplaceable, and I'm thrilled to be with you for as long as possible. Here's to puppy playtime and senior snoozes. No matter how old I get, I want my Everpup. It just makes me feel good in this life. And the next, and the next, and the next. I am so grateful to be your dog and for the Everpup you give me.
So now that you know what your dog wants, get Everpup, the ultimate dog supplement. Everpup is available in select pet shops and on Amazon. But to get the best price possible, join the Everpup Club at everpupclub.com, where you'll get your first jar for just $8 with free shipping anywhere in the U.S. Go to everpupclub.com and use the discount code DPN. That is everpupclub.com. Everpup, every day.
Welcome back. Now, before the break, we were listening to a fascinating interview with Sandra Growich, where she mentioned, Bob, that dogs, merely by being in the room, have the power to unlock memories of dementia patients. And I found that idea fascinating. Is there any evidence of this, or is it purely anecdotal?
I was curious about that very thing. So I decided to consult with a doctor who specializes in geriatric care. That's Dr. Kevin Mckechnie. He's chief of staff at the hospital here, and about a third of his patients are seniors and many have dementia. Dr. Mckechnie actually has many patients at Mountain Lake. And I talked to him in his backyard with his dog Biscuit at his side.
How appropriate.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That companionship piece, I don't think it's a stretch to say that can really make it or break it for people that are struggling with dementia.
In what way?
I think that, dementia, one of the elements of it is a disorientation. And, I can only speak to what I see in my own practice. But what I do see is that folks who have been given a diagnosis of dementia tend to accelerate more quickly and more profoundly if there aren't supports around. In other words, when people are by themselves without a lot of family or other companionship around, they do tend to deteriorate much more quickly. And those that feel supported seem to have a more gentle and gradual course.
And a dog or pet can offer that support?
Bob, I think in some ways a pet can provide that support unequivocally and in ways sometimes that people are unable to. When people are struggling with dementia, a lot of the things that we take for granted around, language and verbal understanding and so forth, those things tend to disappear pretty quickly. But all of the emotional languages stay intact, or certainly the last to go. And that's where an animal, a companion animal, can provide those things, kind of untarnished, if you will, by a lot of the talk and that sort of thing that can be confusing or distressing to somebody with dementia.
I found that in visiting Mountain Lake is that regardless of the depth of dementia, they always understand dog, and it brings instant joy almost every time. You're not a neurologist, but would you say it could potentially even help stave off the effects of dementia, or at least slow it?
Well, it's an interesting question, and again, I can only speak to it anecdotally, but what I would say is that human relationships tend to be complex. Relationships that people have with their dog are free of those kind of complications and just a lot more pure and allows for sort of a two-way interchange of love.
So I want to ask you a few things that he was talking about, Bob. He said that dogs are calming and beneficial, even at times better than people, which I think makes sense, and we all as dog lovers know that. But where's the research? Where's the science that shows there must be some stuff for this?
Yeah, there's been all kinds of studies done on this very thing. Some of the most recent have been done through the University of Nebraska. And the findings were that dogs can give Alzheimer's patients relief from what's known as sundown syndrome. They found that in the evening, people with dementia often become most restless, agitated, and aggressive, and will even bite and kick care aides or relatives when this sundown syndrome really kicks in. The Nebraska study determined trained and certified therapy dogs do improve the quality of life for people with Alzheimer's patients, and particularly in the evening when the syndrome comes on and when dogs are needed most.
Wow, that's profound. And we will link to that study in the show notes. Are there other studies as well?
Yeah, there is. One of the most exhaustive studies was a Swedish study, which found that therapy dogs can affect people with dementia by minimizing agitation and other behaviors such as apathy and aggression, while improving their quality of life and their social interaction with others. That's a direct quote from this study. That study found that moments with therapy dogs gave patients empowerment despite symptoms of the disease, and may have given rise to a sense of being important, needed, meaningful, all of these things with the dogs present. In short, therapy dogs improved lives, they found in the Swedish study, in the short term at least, but that's where people live with dementia, as we said.
And I'm thinking of the patient that you visited, Bob, who had the dog biscuits, because in a small way, she was able to be important to the dog because she was a provider of those treats to the dog. And that's what you found as you went and visited with Layla, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. And there's one thing I do want people to consider here. My visits with Layla have been positive for residents in Mountain Lake, a real bonus to their life, I think. And I think Layla has grown, believe it or not, to enjoy the laps of these seniors. Remember, she's a senior too, and this is her age group. These are her peers.
Totally.
But it's also been an incredible experience for me, one that I'm really glad that I started 6 years ago. At first, I'll admit, I was a little nervous around people with Alzheimer's because the disease can be scary, and people with dementia are often confused or even combative. But once you get past that and realize they do have a disease, it's just really rewarding getting to know them and perhaps giving them a small bit of comfort through your dog. I would recommend anyone listening to this with a dog who has a senior center nearby to consider taking their pet to get therapy training or just get approved for visits like Layla was, and volunteer at your local senior center if they're looking for volunteers. It's been an incredible experience for me and an incredible experience for Layla too.
It makes such a difference. I totally agree. I started volunteering at senior centers when I was back in high school. We used to do these touring talent things. And I occasionally was able to bring, later in life when I did it, my dog Maui to some centers in Northern Virginia. And she was definitely not a therapy dog, but she is a lot like Layla. She's something you can put in your arms and it's not super intimidating. And they could gently pet her and made a difference. And you can just see that connection. It's so cool.
And did Maui enjoy it too?
Yes, of course. Well, these dogs love attention. So they can connect with, my wife says I have a thing for old ladies, old lady humans and old lady dogs. And they really do connect because, of course, most of the residents of these places are, in fact, women.
And so I would urge your listeners to consider doing what you and I have done, James.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. That was a fantastic piece there and really interesting to go with you and experience the visits in BC.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Claire. Before I go, I do want you to hear one more clip. Something else Elsie said to me, something that sticks. I asked her what she thought dogs bring to the people up there at Mountain Lake.
I don't know. They just give you something that people don't give you. I guess it's called unconditional love. Oh, I love it. She is great. Wonderful. Yeah.
Unconditional love. Claire, I love it. It is, in fact, what dogs are constantly giving to us. And that's such an awesome, touching piece. And I hope you will consider volunteering at a local organization and helping patients either with dementia or just people who are a little older and probably would like to have a little contact with your pooch.
I think the really encouraging thing as well that I took away from this piece is certainly in Bob's experience, the bar to entry is quite low. This is not something that you have to spend years or lots of money getting your dog prepared and getting the qualifications for. You can just go through quite a simple test, find out if they're suitable for it, and then take it from there, which is wonderful.
Well, that is all the time we have for today's episode. I want to thank you for bringing us along with you on your walk.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, then please do follow along in your podcast app. And I always ask it, but it's an important thing. If you're out in the dog park, if you're talking to fellow dog lovers, and we all do it all the time, please mention Dog Edition to them because, one, we know that they would enjoy it, but two, it also helps our program grow. And I have a personal request, Jim.
Yes.
I'm just going to put this out there because I've now been doing this show for, I think it's like 8 or 9 episodes or something. I'd love a review on a podcast app, please. Could somebody do that? Because it would just make my week. It would be really, really good. So if someone could do that by the time we record next time.
Yes, go to your favorite podcast app and just say you like the show.
Yeah.
And if you would like to share with us any other thoughts or ideas for future episodes, you can reach us on our website at dogedition.com. And that's the place where you can get all the links to follow us in whatever podcast app you prefer. And I want to let you know we have a whole bunch of other shows at Dog Podcast Network, and you can learn more about those at dogpodcastnetwork.com.
I'm Claire Mansell in Ottawa, Canada.
And I'm James Jacobson in Maui, Hawaii. Thank you so much for joining us again. On behalf of all of us here at Dog Podcast Network, I'd like to wish you and your dog a very warm aloha.